Ready to roll from the starting gate on this Sunday edition of Gulfstream Today. Good to have you with us, everybody, from our paddock studios. Acacia Courtney and Jason Blewett. Fast and firm, and of course, fast, maybe not the operative word. We do have 11 races, and we'll wrap up shortly before 7 p.m., but it's good to be back for a Sunday card as that Rainbow Six grows and grows.
It does. That is the story for quite a few consecutive days now. We had two singles. Big prices last night that actually finished second and third. There was no catching that outside runner actually from the 12 post, but $321,000 plus in the carryover. So definitely, we were talking about it before, and it looks like a pretty fun sequence as well. You don't want to miss out on that.
Yeah, you've got 4 two-year-old races all together on the card, including a couple of maiden races, one for the boys, one for the gals in that Sunday Rainbow Six sequence. That also includes our featured 10th race, the Coast is Clear handicap, in which trainer Ralph Nix has got a fairly strong contingent of Savoy Stomp and My Loot as he looks to take on a recent slop winner in Conquest Big E, who we'll learn a bit more about today, whether his last was just a major step in the right direction for trainer Donna Green or it was very much a fluky slop win. Now, to give you the rundown over today's card, we'll just check in with what's going on in the first of 11. Kicking off at about 1:15, a little thereafter, and again, fast and firm as that dollar rolling super high five gets underway in the first, and of course, that's linked up perfectly in this turf claimer at 7.5 furlongs with the opening leg of Sunday's early pick 5. A bit later on, race number 6. That is the springboard of that big rainbow.
Yes, it is. Just a 20-cent wager, of course. It does start in the 6th race, a nice maiden special featuring, as you mentioned, Bobby Axe coming out of the Kiss and Native. Very interesting race to start things off. And then we close things out with the late pick 5. That does start in the 7th race this afternoon.
Yes, race 11 will be the nightcap. A major defection out of that one down the line in Viva Bertha. That may turn into a 2-horse affair now. 2 legit favorites. Acacia and I will talk about them a bit later in the broadcast, but without further ado, let's dive into this Sunday opener. Again, it's a gorgeous Sunday here in Hallandale Beach, not overbearingly hot or humid, just a nice little day with the breeze blowing through our Gulfstream Village and the walking ring. And why don't we focus in on your early pick 5? How much are we spending and who are we using?
All right, well, I did find a single. Hopefully I get to the last leg where I can single. I used 3 horses to start things off. Your current favorite, the 6 Evil Twin, I think is strong, as well as Bar Libre and the Speedster, a square to spare. I wanted to spread in the 2nd race. $16,000 2-year-old maiden claimers, couple with experience. Some of those races, you have no idea what's going to happen when they hit the track. So using 4 in there. 3 deep in the 3rd race. Wondering if Dr. J-Dub can get back to the winner's circle, but I think there's a couple other strong foes he's going to run up against. Just 2 in the 4th. And then my single will be the Patrick B. and Cone trainee, dynamic dancer, trying to keep things more on the affordable side, $36.
$36 with that anchor down the line in race number 5 as he takes on a horse, Dynamic Dancer, who I like quite a bit in that one, in Foreman the Foreman. We'll talk about race number 5 in a few moments, but let's begin with the opening leg of the early pick 5 and the first of 11, and that happens to concern Bar Libre, is one of a number of basically in-form horses. That's the neat thing about the first today, which for the record, I should say, is a 12-5 claiming race. These are 3-and-up fillies and mares on the turf at a 2-turn, 7.5 furlong distance. And in the case of Bar Libre, why don't we talk about this one first, as this filly by Dictat comes out of a desperate but very game head blanket finish victory.
She does. We'll show that race. And she was along the rail as we backtrack to the 6th. And she had actually let Dixie Grits, who was the 7 that day, kind of go ahead of her. Brianna's Bucket is the number 8, if we can just freeze it right there. So she has these horses now in front of her. And here's Bar Libre, the number 2 along the rail. So what I like about this race, as we just roll it now to the wire, is that she kind of let things unfold in front of her and was able to sit just behind it. Yes, it was a desperate blanket finish. She comes up the rail. There were some late runs from horses outside as well. But what I think is that she is much stronger when she can sit just right behind the pace in here. A couple starts back, she was way too far back. She was hindered by an outside post. I think she'll sit just behind a square to spare, and that's where I like her best because she really does have, I think, a really potent kick.
And you like her on top here for trainer Angel Quiroz as Venezuela's all-time leading rider, Misael Jaramillo, has the call. I used her, but wasn't as enamored with Bar Libre here in the first as were you. She's capping my super in the 4th spot. And I think given the 6 Evil Twin and the fact that Midwest Thoroughbreds and trainer Armando de la Cerda don't reinvent the wheel with this Pennsylvania-bred, homebred filly by Maltese Dog, I like that they just run her back for basically the same claiming tag. And we were talking, and you were educating me a couple days ago on the sire Maltese Dog, and we were joking about it. I walked into the Horseman's Lounge yesterday, midway through the card, and one of the guys in there grabbed me and said, I hear Acacia was giving you the lowdown on some of our familiar face sires here in South Florida. I said, well, I'm used to Uncle Mo and Tappet, but I said I'm a big fan of the Maltese Dogs, and sure enough,
He's everywhere.
Evil Twin looking for 3 in a row by Maltese Dog. I'm just going to take this one on top, who clearly you like square to spare, a little more than Evil Twin as a square to spare brings that early speed, and maybe she's set for her best second off the layoff.
I think that's the key. I think that she is going to be hopefully a little bit better, but her speed with the addition of the blinkers, Jenna Antonucci, Jesus Rios did have a win yesterday in the opener. Evil Twin, 2 for 5 on form, fits these conditions perfectly in
All
here.
right, that's the first. A number of contenders to pick your way through. It's a good first race to start things out for the 12-5 claiming tags. Race number 2 begins our parade of 2-year-old racing on the card today. A couple of them are maiden claimers, and this is the first of the 4 baby races, and the $16,000 tags are attached with this field of 6 after scratches. There is some guesswork in this one, and the good news is, I mean, basically everybody in this field has already run, so it's not like you're going in blind and playing a guessing game with first-time starters running for $16K. You just need to decide who you want that's basically had a prior race under their belt. For you, it's the number 5, Gunship, who's got seasoning on these as a son of Northern Fleet in his 4th career start.
He does, and last time I thought it was actually a very respectable second place finish. The winner was kind of drifting, but there was some good late follow through Gunship. And last time I noticed that he had really tightened up. He had gotten on his toes, just saw a huge improvement in him physically for trainer Larry Bates. And the mare has already produced 4 winning siblings, so I thought now with seasoning under his belt, he should be in better physical form.
I like the sound of that and the fact that you saw a physical change in him last time out, and we'll see if he continues on that upward trajectory today. Now, you've got the 2 Clean Mind and the 3 Coal Miner Son coming out of the same race, or I should say coming out of a race just a few days apart, one July 9th, one July 6th, and that's kind of a neat little subplot to today's second race. At a lower level, yes, but you've got a number of recent Gulfstream Park 2-year-old maiden claimers represented here. I'm going to take a little shot with the 2 Clean Mind, who I had liked first time out, didn't really get bet all that much, was pretty unfocused both in the walking ring and here, or I should say in the tunnel and in the walking ring. Yes, very, very vocal and way unfocused. That being said, it seemed like he kind of figured things out later on in his race after being completely outrun despite some serious urging from Miguel Vasquez, and coming back 2 weeks later with the blinks on. I think you just get a much more concrete effort here from start to finish with the number 2 Clean Mind, and I'm wondering if the 3 Coal Miner Son, who's by Cool Coal Man, can improve for trainer Monty Thomas. Here's a quick stat. This is a barn that perhaps doesn't start that many 2-year-olds, but the ones that they do run are properly spotted, and this is a trainer that really sets his horses up to improve big time second time out.
I think this is a fantastic stat. You obviously had some big prices in there as well with that huge ROI, but all in all, I've been very impressed with the way that his horses, his 2-year-olds in particular, have looked coming to the track. I like the rider change to Luca Panici in here, and the dam was a 7-time dirt sprint winner, so had actually debuted at the 5 furlong distance, so I think he should be okay in here.
And quickly, no Easter Vigil on top for you and me. He just has the look, and again, here's another one of those sort of, and I say this with respect because I like oddities. He's by a backyard stallion in Brooks and Down, who I, again, had never encountered that stallion before running into this horse. just going to be overbet for Nixon Gaffleone. I just didn't want him at a short price off just such a blah debut.
I agree. He had some speed, and then he just kind of stopped. And even speaking to Ralph Nix prior to that race, he really told me then that he had preferred some of his other 2-year-olds.
All right, on to race number 3. And again, in addition to the baby races, the special weights later in the card, and our featured 10th, you also get a very rich high-level turf sprint early on today, and that's the field in the 3rd. 5 furlongs on the turf, so you know you're going to be encountering some blazing speed. And I'm wondering if this race might just turn out. And again, the action is fast and furious in these 5/8 turf sprints, and one mistake or false move may eliminate you from a win picture. But I'm wondering if, with the amount of speed signed on, if this really turns into a jockey's race. And ultimately, I think Extravagant Kid may be the one who can kind of just sit covered up in the pocket beneath Tyler.
I agree with you. He's got the rail. You would imagine he'd try to stalk from the rail with the speed right to his outside of Brandy Squirrel and Brilliant Interest as well. And you even, you know Dr. J-Dub is going to send, and you know Moonwalker is going to send. So it only looks like Diddley is going to be the real closer in here, even though he used to show speed at the start of his career too. Extravagant Kid, maybe just sitting back a little bit, that could be all the difference in the world.
And I think this is his best game. The more I look at him, and he's a very honest, versatile horse who just hits hard and always shows up, win or lose, with a good effort, dirt or turf. More I look around, though, and just take his overall resume into focus, 5 on the grass just might be what he's best at. He gets that today, and he gets trainer Milt Wolfson reaching out for Tyler Gaffleone. And over the last 12 months, you can clearly see a pattern. The horses that this barn likes, they are reaching out, giving Matt Musiker a call and saying, we need a call in Sunday's 3rd on Extravagant Kid. And there you go. The numbers do not lie with this gelding by Kiss the Kid.
Yeah, very good trainer jockey numbers there. As you can see, 35% win is not too shabby at all.
Nope, not at all. Talk to me a little bit about the 5 Dr. J-Dub, who you had briefly mentioned during your early pick 5 play. He is just 2 for 25, and I worry that he's the kind of horse, honest, yes, but kind of runs to his competition.
He certainly does, and I used him a little bit further down. Honestly, they've tried in the last couple of starts taking him off the pace a little bit more. I think he's the kind that just wants to go. That's the name of his game. He hasn't won since September, where he won in graded stakes competition, so it will be a test for him, but I agree, he runs to his competition, and he has been running against top-quality horses and likes to pay any price last time out.
Oh, and his win up at Parks a year and a half ago, or last summer, was a big effort for Jenna Antonucci. He's got a couple of live horses early on today off a very nice win in Saturday's 1st. Moving on to the 4th here with that opening pick 3 in the books. We'll stretch out on the main track way down the backstretch out of that 1-mile chute. These are 2 lifetime 3 and up 6250 claimers, and getting right back to it, I think, much like Jenna Antonucci, trainer Armando de la Cerda may have a big opening half to this Sunday card. I like this horse, Evil Twin, in the 1st, who's currently favored at 5-2, and I do think Market Strength is going to take some beating. We'll show you a quick stat, and it's kind of a very quirky, very niche, very specific category, but this is, maybe it's random, maybe it's not. Regardless, the numbers, again, don't lie. That's fact. And the fact that Armando's gone 6 for 10 with his last, again, 10 starters, taking that class drop and moving turf to dirt, which Market Strength is doing today, I think they probably are looking to get the win, and they're hoping somebody takes this horse for 6250. Not going to fight that stat. I'll take this one as the likely favorite.
Well, I think you'd hit the nail on the head right there, because the for sale sign is out, because he's been running well against tough turf competition. Those $16,000 condition claimers on the turf are tough races, and he's been keeping his own. Now they drop him immediately and go to the dirt, and it looks like it is the for sale sign out. He was a $310,000 purchase. So I certainly like him. I respect the connections, of course, but he's never been on the fast main track, and on the bottom side there certainly is turf pedigree. So we'll see how he handles it today. I did land a little bit hesitantly on the 7 Knockout Ranger, and we'll just go back to the start of his last race, because he was totally knocked off stride and pretty much eliminated after the break, and he's highlighted as the number 7 there in the red cap, and we'll just let it go as they're all kind of strung out in a line, and things are going okay so far, and then we'll freeze right there. These horses to the outside start coming this way, and poor Knockout Ranger, as we let it roll, just gets totally eliminated and is forced. And this is actually interesting, as we'll freeze again. Here's Knockout. Oops. there he is, right there in the red cap. And all of these horses are kind of strung out into 2 separate groups, and we'll let it go now. Just I wanted to highlight how he was cut off and then forced to go to the rail.
Subtle trouble, as usual. You got all the angles covered, doing your homework, and we'll see. He's also got sort of a good race, not so good race pattern working, and again, he seems to be one of the mid-priced horses I thought might be dangerous if you don't like market strength or you don't feel that he's going to run his race today, taking that precipitous drop for 62.50. So Knockout Ranger was knocked out early on from the gate in his last start. Here's the 5th on the card, Acacia, and everybody, and glad you're with us as we basically wrap up the first half of Gulfstream today, and we do so with a 5-furlong turf sprint, a maiden special weight for 3-year-olds and up, and talked about earlier Ralph Nix having comfort in numbers in our featured 10th race with 2. Trainer Patrick Biancone has got a pair of runners in this one. The aptly and I think perfectly named Rail Runner at a price outside looking in, but the one they're going to bet, and maybe it's just a case of the 6 Dynamic Dancer finally finding the right field.
It could be, and they've certainly had a tough time with this horse. I've just really remembered often being impressed with how he looks and thinking maybe he's just taking a little bit of time to learn. He is 0 for 9 now. He's been knocking on the door. They tried claiming. They stepped him back up to special weight. But Tyler Gaffalione is aboard. He's now second off of a pretty good 3+ month layoff. And what really sold me in here is the recent work tab. We've seen an increase in the sharpness of his works at Palm Meadows, and it looks like today is the day. If he doesn't win today, I'm going to start getting a little bit concerned as far as special weight goes. But I figured this is the time.
I walked away from his last a little disappointed, though. And as time has gone on, I just wonder if the 5, Foreman the Foreman, there's no denying he's faced better maidens, better quality maidens in his 2 turf races to date. And ultimately, the runners coming out of that Clift upset maiden race on June 1st, I just don't think that race is held up in the form department. So although I would use, of course, Dynamic Dancer, I'm going to try to pull a mild upset here with the likely second choice. And again, I like Foreman a lot last time off the layoff at 6-5. And again, truth be told, he didn't run that well. But in hindsight, he was beaten by a horse who's pretty good in Sweat, who, again, I thought ran gigantic in defeat here last Sunday. And I would argue that, arguably, again, Foreman the Foreman's only race going 5 on the turf last December was his best effort, and it was a race littered with quality. There were a couple next out winners in their subsequent starts, and he was only beaten 2 and change by a horse by the name of Forgive, who's now 4 for 8 and a turf sprint winner few weeks ago at Churchill Downs. So I do like that race quite a bit that he ran back in December, and I think second off the bench, dirt to turf, today is the day for Foreman the Foreman, and clearly you don't dislike him.
No, of course, and I actually really loved this horse when he first tried the turf as an upset potential. Forgive, up until that point, that was kind of the turning page, the page turner for him, as he was very inconsistent actually prior to that. So he won, and then he continued on and has been in excellent form since. But Foreman, the 4-man, the Dam did win on the turf, and the Dam never tried the turf, but he does have a sibling that won on the grass. Blinkers go on. You imagine he's going to show speed in here, so he's got to prove that he can handle the surface and everything in here. But Miguel Vasquez has been riding excellent lately.
Coming out of a 4-win Saturday, it was Tyler Gaffalione on Friday, Miguel Vasquez here yesterday. What does Sunday have in store? We'll find out, and although we have not run a race, we do know 320,000 plus in that Rainbow Six pool. We'll have Acacia's ticket and more when we return.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
And we're back on this live Sunday edition of Gulfstream Today from our paddock set studios at beautiful Gulfstream Park. It is Acacia and Jason. Our half-mile pole run commences here with 6 more races to go over. And your Rainbow Six ticket, we've got some 2-year-olds, we've got a stake, and what are we doing?
Well, lots of fun in that Rainbow Six sequence. I did not single. It's going to be $43.20 for me, as you see that $321,000 plus carryover. Bobby Axe, I think, is perhaps on paper the most likely winner on today's card. That being said, I still have some questions for him. He's got to get out of the gate faster, and he has to deal with the rail post position today. So I'm going to use second-time starter Highborn, who I like the pedigree and was impressed with the first out appearance, and a horse getting Lasix for Stanley Gold, who's been going so great with 2-year-olds, especially lately in the 6th Transistor. 3 deep in there to start things off. 3 in the next 2-year-old race, a maiden claiming 4 fillies. Then we're going to go 3 deep in the 8th as well. Another 2-year-old with the maiden special weight. So lots of baby races to start things off. 2 in the 9th. Using 2 in the 10th, that's our stake. I'm just going to voice stomp and piloting. And 2 deep in the finale, as you mentioned, a key scratch. So 43.20 for me.
I like it. Now let's talk about the field that includes Bobby Axe, who's an overwhelming 3-5 favorite on the morning line, and obviously they paid up for this son of Shanghai Bobby, and it's a case of him having had 2 very eventful trips, a disastrous, very tough, taxing go of it in the slop first time out behind Bow Harbor, who didn't run that well yesterday at the Spa, but he's still a pretty good horse, Bow Harbor. And last time out there was an incident at around, say, the 5/16 pole, right above the quarter pole, and Bobby Axe had a steady to avoid that incident. I'm looking at him as just being the best horse in here.
He is the best horse, especially on paper. I imagine with the blinkers on, especially going from the rail, that's going to be kind of the tactic here to get him out of the gate a little bit sharper, get him into a good position, hopefully have some racing luck today. Edgar Zai is going to be in the saddle once again, and he's shown up in both of his races, all
well.
things considered. As I said, I also used the number 5 Highborn, who is half to Who's the Lady, and for Jose Pinchin, and honestly, who's going better than Stanley Gold with 2-year-olds?
Nobody.
Right now?
2-year-olds, even 3 and up runners. Yeah. In fact, over the last 30 days, Stanley Gold here at Gulfstream Park, 10 for his last 29, batting about 35% in that category. And he's got a couple of 2-year-olds in on the program today. We'll see how he does with Transistor against the heavily bet Bobby Axe in the Rainbow Six opener. Late pick 5 begins on a lazy, hazy Sunday afternoon at Gulfstream Park in race number 7. Now, scratches to an extent changed the complexion of this race. 11 were entered in the body. After scratches, we've got 7. The one constant, however, in this 2-year-old filly $35,000 maiden claimer was that the 9, Cosita Rica, was going to be a clear favorite no matter what. Not going to single her just in case somebody like the 11, Raison Tiz, gets brave on or right off the front end. So I'll use the 9 and 11 in the 7th race. I stand by this statement that Blonde Bomber is the most talented 2-year-old filly I've seen run this spring and summer at Gulfstream Park, and I've been waiting for her to finally get some well-earned and overdue racing luck and also get 3/4. She gets hopefully all that stuff. We know she gets the distance today of 6, and hopefully she finally pulls a much-needed clean trip. She's the anchor. Moving on to a turf claimer in the 9th race. I feel as though the number 7 horse, Indominus, has been running against the best horses and the toughest claimers. It's got to stretch out, though, and that's a gray area. I'll also use the Logical Legend of the Kitten and the number 8, J.K.'s Girl, for trainer Dennis Ward. On to the 10th, I am going to say Conquest Big E has turned the corner. Maybe it's a silly opinion. Maybe he's a trap. His last race in the mud was awesome. But I'll also use the back class of Savoy Stomp and the outside runner My Loot for trainer Ralph Nix. And in the 11th, again, much like Acacia's Rainbow Six, just the 1 and 8. With no Viva Bertha in there, they are the big 2 by far. But in talking about race number 7 today, you've got a filly by Drosselmeyer in the 9, Cosita Rica, who did no running first out, completely outrun, but outrun in a race as far as the quality department, that was eons better, most likely, than the firster she's going to face today.
Absolutely. She comes out of a race with 2 next out winners. The third place finisher, Holy Diver, came back very impressively to win. We also saw Weekend Mischief, speaking of Stanley Gold, come back to win as well. And Francisco D'Angelo, 2-year-old second-time starters. He's 4 for 9 winning, 6 for 9 in the money. This one also gets a drop in class. So
nice.
Really, really strong numbers for this barn. That's kind of what pushed this one over the edge for me.
Fair enough. And again, first-time starters, none of them really have any insane turf pedigree jumping off the page. That might be expected running for $35K at Gulfstream in July. We'll see, and certainly anxious to hear what you have to say once you get a look at them way down the line on the program. On a Blonde Bomber and her 6 rivals in race number 8, as we have our second high-profile 2-year-old maiden special weight on the card. We had the boys earlier. We'll get the 2-year-old fillies in the 8th race, and it's incredible to me that Blonde Bomber has basically packed a career's worth of adversity and bad luck into 1, 2, 3 career starts.
She has. Well, let's look at the most recent of those. This was on July 2nd. She was the number 4 that day. She is just behind the speed in here, and she did have to steady a little bit with Miss Momentum, who was the 3. Bernadetta, as we'll just freeze right there. She is in, of course, the Pletcher trainee right there on the front.
Stone Street, I think.
Stone Street colors, and we'll let it just roll as we come down. Thank you for finishing my thought there.
No problem.
Get to show her the number 4. She's just not going to catch this stronger, more well-prepared filly on this day. But that being said, as I alluded to earlier, she had a little bit of trouble early on. She was closing strongly. She's a Fort Larned filly that the barn has always thought highly of. Unfortunately disappointed in her first start, then found the slop and rose to fame in her second.
Yeah, I think today's the day. A good post, and I think 3/4 on the main will just be perfect for the 6 Blonde Bomber. You've got a number of horses, second-time starters, like Gabrielle Elizabeth, who tried the boys first out and was tipped out like a good thing and did no running at all. Stanley Gold's got the number 4 Denver as well, an awesome, again, filly getting Lasix. And then you've got Steve Dwoskin's firster, who's got Gaffleon. That's the number 2 Starship Bonita. We'll give you the lowdown and the scoop on this filly by Gone Astray, who sold at OBS March for over $70,000 after working a furlong in 10 seconds flat. And that was a pinhook buy there, if you will, after selling as a yearling for 25 Gs, and this has been a solid mare where all 3 siblings are multiple winners for 6 figures.
And one of them being a Surprise Wedding, who is stakes place. We saw her run okay on a wet track the other day. What really did turn me off and put this filly a little bit further down is the barn is, with 2-year-old first-time starters, just 1 for 56 over the past 5 years, but we'll be really fascinated to see how this one with the nice pedigree does debut.
And you like Io's horse for second, potentially.
I do. I think the blinkers on is going to be the key. She's a very big, well-developed filly, so I like that she gets 6 furlongs today as well, and she got very keyed up right before the race, so maybe blinkers help with focus.
All right, good nugget there. On to race number 9, 7.5 furlongs on the turf. We've got 3 more remaining on this Sunday card at Gulfstream Park. Fillies and mares set to go that 7.5 furlongs, and likely looking at an overbet, underlaid favorite for the obvious reasons here in the 6, Legend of the Kitten. Truth be told, if the 7 Indominus, who stretching out to 7.5, if she can't stay the trip, if there's any sort of reasonably solid trip on the turf here beneath Tyler, there's a good chance the 6 Legend of the Kitten, who's going to be an underlaid favorite for the obvious, again, she might just be a little better than these.
She might, and we'll show her race quickly as we do start to wrap things up here. This was on July 4th. She was the number 8 that day. She was wide early, as we'll just let it roll from the quarter pole. Wide early, breaking outside, going 7.5 furlongs. Never easy with the short run into the first turn. Miss Regal Light is the number 1. She was kind of far ahead early on, setting the pace. So you have a long shot setting the pace, and then as you see, the number 8 will just freeze right there and highlight her again. She's right in here, just trying to bully her way through for room, and we'll let it go through the wire. Just missed with breakaway on the outside, beating a neck in here.
And I think this underscores that horses, for the most part, are usually more comfortable putting in those outside runs, and in a way, Breakaway had that in her favor, whereas Legend of the Kitten had to grind and fight her way and slowly kind of plot up the inside. Still a pretty good effort in a blanket finish, and again, she may have just timed it right here for trainer Terry Pompey in the 9th race. We do have a few minutes remaining, which is good because opinions, although a field of a half a dozen. You've got 6 gunning for that top prize in our featured 10th, the Coast is Clear handicap. Opinions may be all over the place because I guess when it comes down to it, familiar names, very familiar in the name department, yes, but who do you trust? Who do you have confidence in? I think there's probably, for this group, who have done as a collective some pretty good things in the past. As of now, however, questions abound with pretty much everybody.
Everybody has questions in here. You're absolutely right about this. I have to say that this, even though it was a small field, this was one of the biggest head scratchers on the card this afternoon. Now, Conquest Biggie, I like the horse, but maybe I'm going to talk him right into the winner's circle, but I really did not want him on top in here, as he is 0 for 8 in the fast main track, and all 3 of his wins have come on the slop. And just looking at him physically last time, he just looks like a wet track horse to me. Maybe he really has just improved tremendously. I know they thought highly of him at the start of his career when he was with the Cassies and all of the graded stakes he ran in. I just would need to see him back that last race up.
I completely agree. And it's basically a case of, do you think his last was a fluke, or do you think he's turned the corner? At likely third choice-ish, 7-2, 4-1, 3-1, I'm going to just say he's on the lead here. Even if he doesn't run, at least I've got a speed horse, and I'm going to take him as the hopefully controlling speed in this one, the #1 Conquest Biggie, fully aware that he may be the trap of the day, and I have bit hook, line, and sinker.
Hey, maybe I have too. If you go for Savoy Stomp, wasn't run in 9 months and is coming out of a couple turf races where he didn't really run that well. Prior to that, he was stakes placed at Delaware. He was running in top races. His first time for Ralph Nix for Team Valor, and he's done a very good job with their horses, even horses he's acquired and off a layoff. Nothing special as far as works go. I'm just hoping he runs to some of the back class.
And you've got Mark Cassidy in the mix with piloting, who's running against his old stablemate in the one Conquest Big E, and he clearly on his best, and at times he's been a little inconsistent. He's got a big chance, and good old Milute from the outside. If he's going to run and he's going to win at this stage of his career, I think today going a mile against a group like this, that will help him out.
I think so too. And if Conquest Big E and piloting both sent, the better it is for Milute.
Very good point. Pace could ultimately wind up being pretty hot, where a few guys have the same idea to go after Conquest Big E out of the chute. Let's wrap things up with race number 11. 7.5 furlongs on the turf for your Sunday nightcap. 3 and up filly mare, $10,000 claimers. Huge defection of the 3 Viva Bertha. Really leaves the 1 Weekend Appeal, who got a tremendous ride last time from Edgar Zayas from the rail today, as a clear favorite, along with the Chuck Simon trained 8-horse Hollywood Tomcat.
I did land on Hollywood Tomcat. We'll show the last race for her. This was on June 18th. She was the #4. She was far and away the much the best that day. We'll just let it roll from the quarter pole. And if you look at this race, Tyler Gaffleone had a pretty tight hold on her in those striped silks. Did wait patiently, go outside. I thought it was a nice win, and the barn does well with winners last out.
Yeah, no reason to think she won't run her race, and I was reminded of just the talents of Tyler Gaffleone yesterday in the nightcap. I think he had post number 11 after 1 scratch and wound up pulling as close to a ground-saving trip as possible. And wound up running away and hiding in the last with Dude's Scepter for trainer Ralph Nix. So that's it. 11 up, 11 down. Action-packed Sunday here at Gulfstream Park. Nice buzz in the building yesterday. We thank you for joining us. And sit tight. Pete Aiello is coming up in a few moments with Sunday's Scratches and Changes.